I'm so slow at getting organized that today I'm just gonna go ad lib as things come up. News publications come out, everything comes out, everything comes in the inbox, and I can't keep up with everything as it comes down the wire. Plus I got check all the news wires, Reuters, AP, BBC, CNN. I pay little attention to them. But here we are, a few days after Belgium legalized going after the children. Yep, so now they're gonna continue the process of telling all the children who's suffering, who's not suffering. Half the children wish they were dead, so they can continue to make money off killing. So the other day, there was an announcement on the CBC news site. So I went to the webpage, read the usual comments, read the AP announcement, and I had a few comments. And I knew pretty much they would not want to publish my comments, which they didn't. But the next morning, I decided to check it just in case. They surprised me. And when I noticed my comment wasn't published, I thought, well, I'm going to have fun with these guys. And I did. So, actually, that shocked me that the next day those comments are still up there. Well, maybe they did it just to make me feel like I was miscalculated or something. But, oh, it's okay. But I noticed they didn't want my original comments up there connecting the new growing market for euthanasia laws to the market for organ harvesting. And what I had to say about the bills that are being pushed through in the U.S. and Canada to make it mandatory that every dead person's organs are automatically the property of the marketeers for the organ transplant business. So, they're desperate for more dead people, for more organs, for more profits from those organs that don't belong to them. And they're literally trying to get laws passed to legalize it. So you just think about this one. We spent our life from the 1960s with the abortionists and Margaret Sanger telling all the girls and the women, your body is your own body, and nobody has any say over what you do with your own body. Alright? So that has only served to encourage girls and women to go out and have a good time, get everybody up their legs, and get them pregnant, and then just, oh well, it's this thing I feel in my stomach. Oh, yuck. Oh, I feel crappy. I want to get rid of it. I don't want to be a mother. So, lo and behold, the child butcher, the unborn child butcher industry began. And in the last few years, I've been noticing more and more how they've been kind of laughing how taboo abortion used to be. But now it's just a dinner piece conversation. And that soon euthanasia will be the same type of dinner piece conversation. They sound the alarms, they blow the sirens. Oh, no, we can't allow this euthanasia. No, we would not let this happen in our country. But after 20, 30 years of calmly turning on the commercials, turning on the news, stories of these poor suffering souls. And oh yes, remember the 1980s. Oh, the people who were found dead, senior citizens, murder-suicides, because they were getting old, and there was nobody to care for them in their old age. So it was an act of desperation. The murder-suicides began to get noticed. And then Florcy Rodriguez, healthy woman, fit for survival. She was the athletic type. Yes. This shouldn't be happening to me. I'm a good woman. I was athletic. I took care of my body. I took care of my health. Why me? And then the very gallivanting Savannah Robinson. Yes. He had the love, the ever-loving compassion to support Sue Rodriguez. She didn't deserve to be lowered in dignity to such a level as depending on others, when she could no longer make her own decisions. So it's Van Robinson, the man of compassion and love. He jumped to the opportunity to lobby and bully the right to die in Canada, to assist in her suicide. Abracadabra. A year later, the great, brave, bold rapist from the country for Robert Latimer. The wife and kids went to church one morning while Papa Ra took Tracy to the truck, piped in that carbon monoxide into the cab. He made sure everything was airtight. They went back to the house, sat there, and watched his daughter asphyxiate. It takes quite a while. That's quite a bit of suffering to go through for 40, 50 minutes, and watching her go into convulsions. And oh, that's okay. Yeah, it was Daddy Rob. Yeah, hey man, he's a big hero now. Yeah, he's gonna be in the news tomorrow. And he was. But it was only because he felt so sorry for her. But down down the road, I started reading all the stuff going into the case through the years. I went, oh wow, this guy's got quite a deck of cards, doesn't he? But he did his time. Of course, one judge let him out of prison. Same judge that let him off had a person on the rape case. But he got put back in prison. Did his time, or most of it. But as far as I'm concerned, doing his time should have been the rest of his life without parole. This guy, to this day, doesn't feel he did anything wrong at all. In fact, his whole family's been poisoned into believing the same thing, because the pretend to be right to die movement, they just, well, it's their right. So I think probably quite a few disabled people were never really connected to disability rights organizations. They didn't really understand what's going on. A lot of them are probably pro-euthanasia too. But you know, when I did get connected and started studying a lot of stuff, I thought, oh, shit, man. That just turned me around right away. That just turned me in a 180 direction. From pro-euthanasia to anti-euthanasia. And then there's the Terry Schiavo case. Of course, yeah. A wife beater, terrorizer, loafer. Lived off the Schindler family. Lived off Terry. Quite a bit of the time. And the night she wanted a divorce, well, that was the night she became disabled, wasn't it? Pounded her into a mental vegetable. They used that word for quite a few years, I guess. But the first year she was getting therapy, and she was actually recovering. And then when Michael Scheibel found out that he found out he wasn't going to get as much money as he wanted for her, so he wanted her dead. Spent the rest of Terry's life lobbying and getting this lawyer, George Philos, to make all the moves the courts had to make to legalize, get rid of it. And non-stop, there's been constant campaigns and stories in the news and all that stuff. All the pain and suffering stories, talk shows, documentaries. But they don't usually go out of their way to make documentaries or movies of those of us who it really did have to grow up with. There were times of really intolerable suffering and pain, but we got through it and got on with the rest of our lives. They don't really want to go out of their way and have too much of that stuff on their television stations, radio stations, and all that. They want to stick to the poor suffering people, and they've done that for so many years now that this year I noticed a change in their tactic, that now they're emphasizing on, the poor suffering of the caregivers. The poor family members are suffering so much. Yeah, you're right. Poor suffering family members. Well, I'll be honest with you. I know it's not very nice that family members do have to go through so much, enduring so much because of their family member who is dying, terminally ill, whatever. However, the ones who make the biggest complaints, they do the biggest crybaby episodes and get the most attention by the death cult control of the media. The reason they suffer so much, some of them much exaggerated over the suffering it does to them. A lot of that suffering is because, number one, I know you don't want to hear it, but I'm not going to buy what you don't want to hear. One of the main points that all that unnecessary suffering is because of your attitudes. Your attitudes. You pride yourselves as being atheists. If there's a God, why does he do this? Why does he blah, 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 blah? So that's part of the reason your suffering is so psychological. All in your head. You don't want to believe there's God, the Creator. It's your choice. So, between you're suffering because you don't want to pray, you don't want to seek the Lord to help you through this crisis, to help your family member through this crisis. Well, obviously, you're just causing yourself, and if your family member is dying, is a real God rejecter, Christian basher, or whatever else, well, that's their choice too. But you guys want your Nietzsche world, Freud, and all that stuff. So you inflict yourselves with unnecessary suffering, unnecessary pain. And as far as physical pain, for the last couple of years, more and more, there's been this complete denial of what the pro-life doctors have been explaining, that there's no need for physical pain. Pain can be managed. Physical pain can be managed. And I've read what some doctors have published, and that some patients who are extremely in pain, they can have their pain managed, and also a mix of drugs to help them to be able to be fully alert and capable of being able to function through the day, whatever activities they're used to doing or working or whatever. Now, I don't, in previous videos, I know I've really shot my mouth off because I am really fed up that so many crybaby stories get so much attention. And no, for all the animal rights experts out there, no, I don't wish animals to have to suffer and die in agony. But contrary to Peter Singer, animals are not equal to human beings. And one time I posted in one forum about that, the day that Peter Singer's animals are equal to human beings, they had better be expected certain things that human beings are expected to do and to qualify for. They had better adhere to a dress code. So take that. They had also better be expected to work for a living and be taxpayers. So take that. And until Peter Singer and his animal rights cult can accept and recognize that, stop boo-hooing about the animals being equal to human beings. So, I'm going to read something I've got up here, or wherever it is. Living with Dignity. This is Thursday, December 12th. This is put out by Vive la Dignity. Living with Dignity. Belgium adopts euthanasia for children. Quebec may follow shortly after the adoption of Bill 52. The Belgian Senate just passed the extension of the law on euthanasia to minors, no age limit, terminally ill and facing unbearable physical suffering and ineffaceables, whatever that means. It's translated from French to English. It only took 11 years for the Belgian law to begin to be modified to allow the killing of children by euthanasia. Quebec's Bill 52, to introduce medical help to die, undergoes a detailed study parliamentary committee. The medical assistance to die is injected with a poison that causes the immediate death of the patient. This is euthanasia. Bill 52 is modeled on the Belgian law, if passed. If passed, Quebec physicians working in health care facilities will have to carry out euthanasia on request. They want to convince us that medical aid in dying will be restricted to a very small number of exceptional cases, and that children will never be covered. Well, really, I don't think any children should be qualified to be executed. No, I really don't. I really don't believe that. What is legal right now is to terminate feed all nutrients and medical treatments, and when they go into extreme, or they go into stress, they could be sedated with morphine or whatever else. They could be sedated until they die, but they shouldn't just be executed. I don't think it should be allowed at any stage, especially with children, and especially when you consider doctors are not know-it-alls. They're not. I dare say that very, very few of us that were baby boomers, now in our 50s, late 50s, 60s, they'll be alive today if in the 1960s and 1950s, doctors had this train of thought, because we had all been executed. I think the brain function of today's medical colleges needs to be cleaned up. My generation of doctors, I'm not a doctor, but my generation of doctors are now retiring, and more will soon be retiring, and we're being invaded with a newer generation, Generation X, Generation Y. They were vulnerable to this new doctrine, which is not a new doctrine. It comes from Germany in the 1930s. I don't think this country, not Quebec or any province in this country, should bow 1 inch to legalizing euthanasia for anybody. But anyway, it says that it be restricted to a very small number of exceptional cases. You know something? There are no exceptional cases. People can be sedated if they're so exceptional and made comfortable. They don't need to be executed. The children will never be covered. However, some groups, including the College of Physicians of Quebec, already a parliamentary committee said that the law should apply equally to children and adults unfit in this context. We cannot afford to ignore the experience of the past 11 years in Belgium. In this country, euthanasia became legal in 2002 for exceptional cases under strict conditions. Well, that was the way the bill started. The law started in Belgium in 2002. I think it was actually Holland in 2002 and Belgium in 2003. Maybe I'm wrong. Under strict conditions, as we promised the Quebec government with Bill 52. Yeah. Oh, sure. All the safeguards, all the propaganda. The fact of the matter is, they never intended to enforce safeguards anywhere. That's why, since all the laws were passed, Oregon runs the healthcare authorities, and you know, when they do all the investigations and reporting, nice try. And in Belgium, Holland, anywhere else, and when you let them be the people running the whole machine, and you expect it to get honest reporting from the serial killers network, nice try. Things will not be different in Quebec. To think otherwise is to play ostrich. Do not ignore what is happening where euthanasia is illegal. Reject any legislation that would allow doctors to kill their patients. The sources, the Citizens Network, the Living in Dignity and Collective Medical Doctors' Rejection of Euthanasia. It says follow us on Twitter at Collective Med and at V for Dignity. Anyway, I guess that's what they said on Thursday. So much for that one. I want to see what Alex. I'm going to go down and read this Quebec professor. Come on, what's going on here? Okay, December 8th. The Belgian professor warns Quebec about euthanasia risks. This is on the Alex Schadenberg blog. CTV News reported on the presentation by a Belgian law professor who explained how the Belgian euthanasia law is abused. So this is a doctor from Belgium. Professor Etienne Montero, who is the Dean of the Faculty of Law at the University of Namur in Belgium, spoke at an event in Montreal organized by the Coalition of Physicians for Social Justice in Quebec. Bill 52, the bill that would decriminalize euthanasia in Quebec, is based on the Belgian euthanasia law. The CTV News report states, 11 years after Belgium passed its euthanasia laws, there remain many risks and abuses. The dean of the faculty of law at a Belgian university told a Montreal audience Sunday. Professor Etienne Montero said most requests in Belgium are not rooted in physical pain, which can be controlled, but in psychological suffering. Only Belgian law, originally, Belgian law stated that psychiatric or depressed patients would not be targeted, but the Belgian Control Commission approves euthanasia in such cases today. The article then states that the book, Rendezvous with Death, that is written by Montero, shows that euthanasia safeguards don't work, and that it is very difficult to set legal boundaries. The article stated, now, presently in Belgium, they're going to pass a law to euthanize children. They are already euthanizing people who are depressed or tired of life because they've taken the interpretations of saying physical and or psychological suffering. You don't have to have both. If you have one, why is that not enough? If you are suffering, it's a personal experience, and it would be discriminatory for someone to judge what a person is suffering. What this teaches us is that despite the government's assurances that they will set very strict criteria that won't work, Dr. Paul Saba of Physicians for Social Justice. Saba said just last week, Quebec's own Commission of Human Rights went on the record with a legal opinion that not allowing euthanasia of children 14 years old and up is discriminatory. An early example, he says, of a dangerous slippery slope. CTV concluded their news story by stating, Montero's talk comes after a bill to give residents in Quebec the right to request medical aid to die was introduced in the province's National Assembly in June. Okay. I got something else here I want to go for. There's an up here, let's see. This peach spot is art. It's not like the Google Reader was. This is December 13th by Alex Schellenberg. Belgian euthanasia law and Quebec's Bill 52 are not safe. The Quebec government recently passed Bill 52 at second reading, a bill that would decriminalize euthanasia. The Quebec government is currently debating amendments to Bill 52, and it is expected that Bill 52 will go to a final vote early in 2014. For more information on Bill 52, read Quebec's bill is not safe. Sign the petition. Quebec's euthanasia bill is not safe. I signed it. You better sign it too. If not, I'll break your kneecaps. Quebec government based Bill 52 on the Belgian euthanasia law. The Quebec Government Dying with Dignity Committee stated that there is no evidence in Belgium of abuse or a slippery slope concerning euthanasia in Belgium. That's because the Quebec Government Dying with Dignity Committee is a bunch of liars. On November 13, 2013, I debated. This is Alex talking. He debated Dr. Bernheim, a long-time euthanasia promoter in Belgium. After presenting the facts that are contained within this article, he stated, there are problems with the Belgian euthanasia law. Every Quebec citizen and every Canadian needs to know the truth about the Belgian euthanasia law, especially since Bill 52 is based on the Belgian law. Assisted deaths without request. A study that was published in the CMAG June 2010 found that 32% of all assisted deaths in the Flemish region of Belgium are done without explicit request. 32%. Okay, if they're done without request, that means they're homicides. Point blank. A similar study was published in the CMAG at CMAJ June 2010 found that 45% of euthanasia deaths involving nurses in Belgium were done without explicit request. Almost half the executions performed by nurses was without request. And the nurses are not qualified to carry out euthanasia. It was not part of the bill. The doctors are supposed to be the ones to carry out the executions. The study found that the demographic group that was most likely to die by an assisted death without request was someone who was over the age of 80. It was incapable of consenting, had an unpredictable end-of-life trajectory, and died in the hospital. The first study concluded that the findings fits the description of a vulnerable patient group at risk of life ending without request. Belgian nurses euthanize patients. The Belgian euthanasia law specifically limits the act of euthanasia to physicians. A study that was published in the CMAJ June 2010 found that when nurses were involved with the euthanasia death, the lethal dose was injected by the nurse 12% of the time. The study indicated that in 12 cases, the doctor was not present at the time of injection, and twice, the nurse did not consult the physician. All of these acts are technically illegal in Belgium. And back here, the Quebec law, really hunky-dory for the killing field here. They're saying, oh, there's no safeguard problem in Belgium. Oh, we were there. We went there. We wined and dined with we had coffee. Oh, we had a wonderful night at taxpayers' expenses. All of these acts are technically illegal in Belgium. Nurses killing off patients. There has never been an attempted prosecution for abuses of the Belgian euthanasia law. Wow, finally, somebody echoes something I've been pounding away on for years. That's because the victims' family members can't afford to go dropping into court. They can't afford it. The underreporting of euthanasia. A study that was published in the BMJ October 2010 concluded that euthanasia deaths are significantly underreported in the Flemish region of Belgium. The study found that only 52.8% of assisted deaths in the Flemish region of Belgium were reported. That means that 47.2% of all assisted deaths were not reported. Many people claim that the Belgian euthanasia law is controlled, and yet the data indicates that many euthanasia deaths are never reported. The growth of euthanasia in Belgium. Belgian government statistics indicate that the number of reported assisted deaths increased from 1,133 in 2011 to 1,432 in 2012, representing a 25% increase over the previous year, and 2% of all the deaths in Belgium. The number of reported assisted deaths in 2010 was 954. It is important to note that these statistics do not include the unreported assisted deaths. Data indicates that many assisted deaths are being done without request and are not reported. This proves that the actual practice of euthanasia is not accurately represented in the Belgian government report. But you can't tell these Quebecois that. Nope. Their minds are hell-bent. They want it their way. And if you don't want it, they're going to kill you anyway. They'll take the first chance they get, make convenient mistakes, and conveniently just let people go off the radar. Euthanasia requests are rarely refused. A study that was published in November 2011 found that only 5% of euthanasia deaths are refused in Belgium, compared to a 12% refusal rate in the Netherlands. The study stated that unfortunately, we have no information on the reasons why the attending physicians from our study refused to grant requests. Belgium Euthanasia Control and Evaluation Commission is biased. Dr. Wim de Stelman, who was the co-chair of the Belgian Euthanasia Commission, is also that operates a euthanasia clinic that has become known for doing controversial euthanasia deaths. This year in January, it was reported that Belgian identical twins, Mark and Eddie Verbesim, were euthanized with the approval of the Stallmans because they feared becoming blind. In February, it was reported that a woman with anorexia nervosa died by euthanasia. And I know a lot of people out there, even if you hear about all these, what's going on there, you don't see anything wrong with it because your mind is made up. Anybody that's not in perfect ill health, big deal. They'd be better off dead. Adolf Hitler, he lives well into the new millennium, doesn't he? In February, Tom Mortier wrote an article about the euthanasia death of his depressed mother by the Stallmans in April 2012. Mortier stated, "The death of my mother has triggered a lot of questions. How is it possible that people can be euthanized in Belgium without close family or friends being contacted? Why does my country give medical doctors the exclusive power to decide over life and death? What are the criteria to decide what unbearable suffering is? Can we rely on such a judgment for a mentally ill person?" In September, a person who was not physically ill died by euthanasia after a botched sex change operation. Expansion of criteria for euthanasia. The Belgian government is currently debating the expansion of euthanasia to include teenagers, infants, children with disabilities, and people with Alzheimer's and dementia. The main reason for expanding the criteria for euthanasia in Belgium is that doctors want to change the law because they're breaking the law already. Oh, isn't that's hilarious. It's like Yves Robert in 2010, as soon as the final Kill Bill by Francine Lalonde got voted down 228 to 58. Yves Robert, the guy named Yves Robert, was the head of the Quebec Medical College, and he started playing this little game now. Oh, and now we have to legalize it so we can go after the bad guys and prosecute them. And as soon as I read that, I posted, "Nice try." So now Belgium doing the same thing as Yves Robert. Hey, come on. They want the best of all the worlds. They want to kill people off, and they want to change a lot so they can pretend to go after the bad guys who kill another category of people off that they didn't include in the other bill. Bunch of scum. The statement of euthanasia in Belgium has not experienced an expansion or a slippery slope is obviously false. The Belgian euthanasia law has undergone a series of incremental extensions from turning a blind eye to acts that were originally considered unacceptable, to expanding the definition for psychological suffering, to expanding euthanasia to include medically children with questionable consent to allowing euthanasia for people with dementia, they cannot consent. And I will say this, I'm reading through this, I do want to make this clear, that they are linking, if it's not obvious yet, it's going to be obvious. They're not forcing 3 bills through in the U.S. and Canada for no reason at all. Bills to make it mandatory that when people are dead, their organs belong to the shareholders, the stakeholders, and the companies who want to profit in the organ transplant industry. They blow people up that your body is your own, nobody can do anything, and to write your advance directive that you reject being an organ donor. And once they get this law, if they get this law passed down the states of Canada, it's going to be a roller coaster that your body is not your own as soon as you're in a vulnerable position and end of stage of your life. So I think this stuff needs to be all toppled. I really do. All these death cult laws, they need to be toppled. And as far as the organ transplant industry, I think what they need to do is shut it down because of what they're doing to people before they're even dead. And then they have these laws to protect their ass and say, oh, our definition of dead is it. Well, our definition of dead is that. Oh, yeah. Well, you're dead when your heart stops pumping. But they have to oxygenate the person's organs to get to carry out the transplants. In some places where they're doing transplants, they don't even sedate the person. They're unconscious, so they assume they feel nothing. So it just needs to be shut down. As far as people needing transplants, I think they've had enough years to get their act together and make internal organs for people from adult stem cells, donated umbilical cord stem cells. You know, I think they've had enough time. They know they can do it, but they need to just stop being market driven and change the way some of these organizations are working. But to be ramming or railroading people to kill them off just to keep up the market for organ transplants, screw you. The Belgian Quebec Euthanasia Bill 52 is not safe. The Belgian people should be very concerned that those who are incompetent or depressed are dying by euthanasia, and very few requests for euthanasia are rejected. The Quebec government will be debating Bill 52, a bill that will legalize euthanasia as a form of medical treatment. Bill 52 is based on the Belgian euthanasia law. Bill 52, the Quebec government bill to legalize euthanasia that is based on the Belgian euthanasia law. Bill 52 is dangerous. It is bad medicine for people with disabilities, and Bill 52 is not safe. Sign the petition. Quebec's euthanasia Bill 52 is not safe. Learn more about the practice of euthanasia and assisted suicide in Belgium and the Netherlands by buying the book Exposing Vulnerable People to Euthanasia and Assisted Suicide. Yeah, it'll be really worth it for you guys to read this book and get plugged into the Euthanasia Prevention Coalition. They put out a regular newsletter. And this is alexscheidenberg.blogspot.ca. That's his blog that I'm reading from right now. And that's all I'm going to say for now. I'm so slow at getting organized that today I'm just going to go ad lib as things come up. News publications come out. Everything comes out. Everything comes in the inbox. And I can't keep up with everything as it comes down the wire. Plus I got check all the news wires, Reuters, AP, BBC, CNN. I pay little attention to them. But here we are, a few days after Belgium legalized going after the children. Yep, so now they're gonna continue the process of telling all the children who's, and I did. So, actually that shocked me that the next day those comments are still up there. Well, maybe they did it just to make me feel like I was miscalculated or something. But, no, it's okay. But I noticed they didn't want my original comments up there connecting the new growing market for euthanasia laws to the market for organ harvesting. And what I had to say about the bills that are being pushed through in the U.S. and Canada to make it mandatory that every dead person's organs are automatically the property of the marketeers for the organ. You go have a good time, get everybody up their legs, and get them pregnant, and then just, oh well, it's this thing I feel in my stomach. Oh yuck. Oh, I feel crappy. I want to get rid of it. I don't want to be a mother. So, lo and behold, the child butcher, the unborn child butcher industry began. And in the last few years, I've been noticing more and more how they've been kind of laughing how taboo abortion used to be. But now it's just a dinner piece conversation. And that soon euthanasia will be the same type of dinner piece conversation. They sound the alarms, they blow the sirens. Oh, no, we can't allow this euthanasia. No, we would not let this happen in our country. The transplant business. So, they're desperate for more dead people, for more organs, for more profits from those organs that don't belong to them. And they're literally trying to get laws passed to legalize it. So you just think about this one. We spent our life from the 1960s with the abortionist and Margaret Sanger telling all the girls and the women, your body is your own body and nobody has any say over what you do with your own body. Alright? So that has only served to encourage girls and women suffering, who's not suffering, have the children, which they were dead, so they can continue to make money off killing. So the other day, there was an announcement on the CBC news site. So I went to the webpage, read the usual comments, read the AP announcement, and I had a few comments. And I knew pretty much they would not want to publish my comments, which they didn't. But the next morning, I just had to check it just in case. They surprised me. And when I noticed my comment wasn't published, I thought, well, I'm going to have fun with these guys.